Government Notice of Motion number 1 in my name regarding a declaration of a climate emergency. Mr. Speaker, I think the first and most important point to make is that this is a declaration based on science.
That's right.
The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the preeminent scientific body in the world on this matter, has determined that in order to avoid a situation, a disastrous 1.5 degrees Celsius rise in global temperatures and beyond, a rise that would see increased risk to human health and livelihood, civil unrest, mass drought, mass disease, loss of lands and homes, increased fires, increased tropical storms, mass human displacement and globally exhausted resources, then we must act with urgency, Mr. Speaker, to ensure global emissions fall to net zero by 2050. Mr. Speaker, this declaration is an acknowledgement of the next generation, an acknowledgement of the burden that they will carry if we do not get this right and if we do not take action now. So importantly, this is a declaration that records the importance and formal importance of our intent as a nation and our intent on the global stage. As a government, we are also announcing the Carbon Neutral Government Program that requires government organisations to be carbon neutral by 2025. We must get our own house in order. How can we stand and take a leadership position amongst the private sector unless we take the same action that we expect of them? But I encourage every member of this House to take the issue of climate change with the utter seriousness that it deserves. Vote in favour of this declaration today. Be on the right side of history. Be part of the solution we must collectively deliver for the next generation.
Any discussion of energy generation is not complete without some discussion of climate change. Electricity generation in New Zealand accounts for just 5% of total national greenhouse gas or GHG emissions. At a global level, electricity generation accounts for a much larger 25% of all GHG emissions. Human activities like driving cars, farming, burning coal, and cutting down forests produce greenhouse gases. This includes carbon dioxide, methane, and others. These gases gather in the atmosphere, wrapping around the Earth and trapping the sun's heat. The more greenhouse gases we emit, the thicker the gas blanket, and the faster the world's climate heats up. The result is more extreme weather events, floods, storms, cyclones, droughts, and slips, and rising sea levels and coastal erosion. International scientists now agree that the global climate is changing. It's projected the world's average temperature could rise by 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade over the next 2 decades. Around the world, there is a growing sense of urgency about the need to address the serious challenges of climate change. For New Zealand, there are 4 main climate change challenges. We need to control and reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions, support international initiatives for multilateral action on greenhouse gas emissions, principally through maintaining force on the implementation of the Paris Agreement and ensuring this momentum is carried through on whatever agreements emerge in the near future. Prepare for and adapt to the impacts of changes on our physical environment by responding to the risks and taking advantage of the opportunities they present. And finally, realize these objectives at the lowest achievable long-term cost.
Higher temperatures are already happening. They will increase deaths. Food and waterborne illnesses will spread. Wildfires, as we've just seen, will increase. Floods, as we've just seen after hurricanes, will be more frequent. Asthma and allergies will be worse. Crop production will decline because of high temperatures and drought.
I've got an experiment for you. Safety glasses on. By the end of this century, if emissions keep rising, the average temperature on Earth could go up another 4 to 8 degrees. What I'm saying is the planet's on fire.
UN panel says governments around the world must take rapid action to curb rising temperatures.
We're also seeing rising sea levels due to accelerating melting of polar ice. NASA recently found a glacier on Antarctica's western coast has contributed to about 4% of the world's rising sea levels.
It makes me feel frustrated because, again, you can say I don't believe in gravity, but if you step off the cliff, you're going down. So we can say I don't believe climate is changing, but it's based on science that's over 150 years old. And if we're making decisions that don't just affect us, but that affect hundreds of millions of people based on flawed or faulty information, the result is not going to be good.
Just this Saturday, sensors in Hawaii recorded new carbon dioxide levels. And you know how long it's been since it has been this bad? 3 million years. We're already seeing the consequences of this new era of global warming. First, there's rising temperatures. A recent NOAA report found that 2018 was the fourth warmest year ever recorded on planet Earth. 2016
No, of course not. Nothing's
ever.
free, you idiots.
We're also seeing rising
You're not
sea levels
children
due to
anymore.
accelerating melting of
Explaining
polar ice.
photosynthesis.
NASA recently found a glacier on Antarctica.
This is an actual crisis.
But the one thing that's like super sad that our tour guide was kind of saying is that like within 20 years from now, due to climate change, we won't be able to climb this. Like there will be no way to come up here because it'll be way too unstable. And then within the last, I think it's like within 60 years, like most of this will be gone.
Yeah, 100 years it'll be completely gone.
So there used to be snow all along this area. And then this used to be filled with it as well. And then over time just I don't know, it's a bit of a sad reality that we sort of have to be a little bit more conscious of the footprint that we make, not only within the snow, but as we travel and what we do